Hi Brie, welcome to day 2 of Blame It on Brie. I had kind of done some snippets between breaks, and then I'm like, fuck it, I'm just gonna blab on again in my partly painted self-tape area here. Okay, so my comments on today's testimony. It was the rest of the cross-examination of Amber Heard, and then a redirect. And then afterwards, there's a witness via videotape deposition who was so boring that he literally put me to sleep. So I'm not really going to talk about that one. Okay, so my first comment, at one point, Johnny Depp's lawyer puts to Amber Heard a bunch of these photo shoot pictures, and the idea is to say, look at your face, even though you're wearing makeup, you can't see any injury. I'm sure this has been done because I'm assuming they're competent, but I would not be using these photos unless I've had the photographer testify that they are the unretouched versions, because you don't want her to turn around and later say, no, that was photoshopped. But I would be pretty surprised if they missed that step when they were first introducing the exhibit. Amber Heard still looks at the jury, and what's funny is later in the day, the court TV, the people actually talked about it, and the question was asked, do they look back? And the reporter said no, which they assumed was a sign that things weren't going well for Amber. But I think a couple of looks did land because of her reaction to them. Like, she'd look and then she'd make like kind of a face, right? And you don't really do that unless you know that the person's looking back at you. I'm just saying. Anyone who's ever flirted in a club knows that. Okay, so, and then the host also started talking about picking the battles like I did yesterday. You don't have to disagree with everything, especially if it's in the long run not going to be a big deal. So Camille did a really good cross-examination. They've had a week to prepare it, and you would have started preparing long before that, because you'd be kind of generating the questions and putting together an outline from your evidence and stuff like that. So at one point, they want to show Amber an article, and it's heavily redacted so that only the relevant parts show, but of course the other side has the right to see the unredacted, make sure that this is the statement that she's adopting, that she made that, she agrees, and so she also should get the unredacted copy. And it was, can the lawyer show me an unredacted? And it's like, oh, I can get that. You should already have that. Oh, here's my cat. You should already have that, especially after yesterday, when you know that, this particular lawyer seems to always ask to see like the full version, and the judge has agreed with her. Yesterday, you should have gone back to the office and been like, okay, all the exhibits I want to use tomorrow, I'm gonna want unredacted copies. Why are you being such an ass? Eh? Same with the video. There was a video, and I think it was just supposed to show Amber and her friends against some music or something like that, and they're like, the other side said, we don't have the video. Well, can we see the video? And Camille says, well, you're just about to see it, and that's not good enough. No, because the whole point is that nobody else in the courtroom sees it, at least the jury, or hears whatever's going on. And to constantly sidebar like that is kind of a waste of time. Before I forget, later on they're talking about how the judge is a bit of a stickler for the rules, evidentiary rules, and how things are kind of slowing down, and how she could have let some stuff go. Fuck you. They had said something like, oh, because it's very painful for the jury. True. And not to mention the people at home. Bitch, we're not running a trial for people at home. the people at home are seeing this by virtue of the freedom of the press and all that kind of stuff, whatever, in court TV. Okay, it's never supposed to be catered towards an audience at home. I thought that was pretty evident, but nay. Amber Heard at one point was talking about how you can't really take what an addict says at face value. And then she said, well, I took it with a grain of addict salt. Unnecessary. I mean, we get it. And then, they were making reference to oh my God, potato! Fuck. Jesus Christ. Fucking asshole cat. Someone who had given evidence, I think, the driver after Coachella, and his evidence was that he had picked her up, it sounded like by herself, and Amber Heard said, no, he picked up my entire crew, and when asked about it, she said he was wrong. So my only comment about that was, did her counsel at the time cross-examine him and basically put it to him that he actually took the whole group? Because you can't later on try to argue something when you had the opportunity to cross-examine someone on it. And I think this comes up later again too. So, comment about listening to Amber really wasted was kind of entertaining and cringy, because first of all, she's talking about, someone's selling journals. Like, it's not that she wants to sell a journal. She's talking in the third person, but you never know. But having harped so much on Johnny Depp's drug use, it was kind of cringy to then hear her like totally messed up. She did at least agree. Yes, I spoke to him and said horrible, ugly things. But she was saying we both said that. But again, what I was mentioning yesterday is, there are some things that may not look like they're 100% your way, but if you agree to them, you look more credible, and that's one of them. Okay, so at one point, one of the questions from Camille was, you're the one jealous in the relationship, aren't you? And of course the answer is going to be no, unless you're in an episode of Matlock or Perry Mason. And you might ask, why would you ask a question when you know the answer is no? And that is because of that principle that you are supposed to put your version of events through all of the witnesses who would have knowledge of that, because you need for them to respond. One of them may even adopt it, which is like, yeah. Most of them won't, because, they will disagree with it if they're on the other side, but you still have an obligation to at least put it to them. Okay, she mentioned something about, the monster was the one I hated, this one's the man I love present. Okay, and then there was a recording. So apparently they're outside the studio / man cave or house or whatever it is, and basically Johnny Depp is asking for space, and Amber's like, please don't go, and she says that it wasn't that he was trying to go back in so he could spend time with his kids, but that she was trying to stop him from going on a bender. It doesn't really sound very good. Like, you can sort of see why she might say that, but at the same time, if you just listen to that clip, it's kind of like, but you don't say, because you're going to use, honey, I'm worried about you and stuff. And at the time, they were trying to find the part in the tape where it says, I just want to spend time with my kids, and they couldn't find it. So then it looked really bad on Depp's lawyer, because it's like, oh, no. And then later on, I think they did play it. So it was like, okay. They showed the surveillance of James Franco, where he's putting his head on her shoulder, and later on it comes up too, and it's like, well, I needed a friend. Frankly, I don't think whether or not she actually had an affair is relevant. I think it's, I mean, yes, it's part of the narrative, like why he would be jealous, but if she actually did, it doesn't really matter to the relevance of whether or not there was abuse in the relationship. But it was a very cute video. In the op-ed, they're talking about, and she said, well, I did this, and then I spoke out against sexual violence, and I had to pay for it, and she keeps saying, no, that was not about Johnny, that was about what happened to me after I filed the restraining order, and it was about what happens against powerful men in society in general. Well, with all due respect, Amber, how many other super powerful men have you, do you have direct knowledge of who have done the things that you have described, and who have, like, to you specifically? My kind of what I've been thinking all this time is, like, when you're reading this op-ed, there is no one else you're thinking of but Johnny Depp. Later on, they do try to kind of put more context to, like, they put the dates to the thing, and whether or not, there was information leaked to TMZ. TMZ apparently knows about court filings before anybody else, which makes sense given the type of show they are. But still, I know a lot is going to hinge on very, very nitpicky points, but my argument would always be, like, you don't think of anybody else but Johnny Depp when you read that. Okay, I published. Oh, so then there was, whether or not she ever said, I'm a victim of sexual violence. And she said, well, no, that was the title of the op-ed that I wrote. They gave it the title. I can't change the title, and yet she tweeted a link, and you see the title on the little thing that Twitter puts up. And I didn't really notice the title at all, and And I'm sorry, that comes across as a load of bullshit. In that case, she really should have said, yeah, I saw it at the time. I noted it, I had some questions, but ultimately they didn't change it. Instead of, oh no, I totally didn't notice this, like, inflammatory title. And, and then it was like, well, did you contact the Washington Post? No. And again, it'd be like, well, I talked to somebody else, or I milled about it, and then I figured that they wouldn't change it. So anything, except I didn't notice this inflammatory title. It just seems a little bit off. So what Camille was trying to do was establish that there were other articles and statements that are not related to Depp's representative at the time and what he was saying about everything being a hoax. Like, for example, people finding out that you filed for divorce, and that you made allegations like this would be enough to make people not want to hire you. What Amber Heard is saying is, it almost sounds like she's saying, but for these comments that Depp's representative made that it was a hoax, my career would still be the same. And I'm not sure that really flies logically. That's sometimes, though, a good example of when legal and logic don't match up. But if I were on the jury, I would honestly be thinking kind of like that, like, how do you know that it wasn't the fact that you had made these allegations to begin with, and that people just didn't want to deal with it, as opposed to Johnny's side coming out and saying you're a liar. Oh, there's a comment from one of the Court TV people, and they were saying, oh, Amber's lawyer should be objecting because some of this questioning is getting really brutal and riling her up and stuff like that. And then she comes back from the break, and not even one question has been asked. And the commentators are saying Amber Heard is looking much calmer after the break. You know, their lawyers must have talked to. No shit, it's after a break. When have you come back from a break more stressed than when you were on the stand? Anyway, to quote Billie Eilish, duh. And then they showed a video of her deposition, and she's where she's talking about, I did not punch you, da 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 da, and then apparently she smiles, and of course Camille asks stuff like, is there something amusing about punching your husband in the jaw? And Amber Heard says, well, no, I was kind of rolling my eyes and laughing at the situation because there were a bunch of lawyers in front of me who were all laughing at me, snickering at me, and I don't know how I feel about that because I can sort of see her reacting to them. But you know, honestly, if that's happening, you should either say something on the record, like I don't appreciate that all of you guys are laughing at me, or keep your poker face. But that's hard to do. I appreciate that. Okay, during the redirect, I don't understand my own notes. I've never hit anyone. If the information or something. This happens all the time. Okay. Oh, so then they addressed why Johnny Depp doesn't look at Amber Heard during these proceedings. And I missed this because I'm not going to wake up specifically to watch this shit unless I'm being paid. And apparently Camille had said, have you noticed why he doesn't look at you? And everyone has been saying, well, it's because he's guilty. And that's what Amber ultimately said. Well, it's because he's guilty and he knows it. Apparently there had been some conversation and he had said something like, well, you know, you will never see my eyes again, or something like that. And so that was kind of the whole thing, like, I'm not looking at you. And I'm sorry, Johnny and Camille, that sounds like shit. Like, that sounds so petty. Like, well, I'm not going to acknowledge your existence. And I don't think that's the best explanation you could have. There are a billion other ones, like the ones I talked about yesterday. I don't want to look at you because I hate your fucking guts and I might have a conniption fit. Bing! I don't want to look at you because you caused me so much pain that it will trigger me. Bing! I don't want to look at you because I will make faces and my legal team want me to remain stoic. Bing! Or I'm afraid that if I look at you because you're alleging abuse, and especially in light of your like jumpiness when I started walking to you half blind, that I would be accused of trying to intimidate you while you're on the stand. Bing! She did say there were other opportunities that they were other meetings that they've had subsequent to that statement where, yeah, they did look each other in the eye, and that's a bit more believable, frankly. So I don't know. I'm not that whole "you will not see my eyes again" kind of. I would have kind of had that sarcastic bent talking about it, just like Amber's lawyer did. It was actually pretty funny the way she was like, well, "You will not see my eyes again." I probably would have done that too. They confirmed that the scratches, the cuts on her arm that we were talking about yesterday, where I said, well, like, really, you couldn't find makeup to cover that up, or you didn't want to cover that up, and nor should you have to if you don't want to as a victim. Like, why should you? But those marks, or that picture was taken 2 weeks after the incident. They looked pretty fresh. So unless you're saying they were freaking like T-Rex claw gouges in her arms, and that's how they ended up healing. I mean, I don't know. That arm, the picture with the arms and stuff still really bugs me. And I have yet to completely pinpoint why. They asked her why she only took pictures of some things but not the others. What they were trying to do is establish that she was taking pictures of him when he was passed out as embarrassment, and she was saying no, it's so to show him and his enablers, so that they know he has a problem, which is valid. But the whole she's saying it wasn't even a thing before my best friend started taking pictures of me in December. I would not have gone that route. I would have just been honest, bitten the bullet, and said when I had the frame of mind to do it, I did. And when I was frazzled, sometimes I was concerned with other things. So at another point, they're talking about what one of the cops said, that she didn't find any damage to the house, and Amber said, well, we walked over broken glass, and so I don't know why she would say this. So again, hopefully Amber's lawyer cross-examined the cop on this point and challenged that at the time. Otherwise, you can't just randomly bring it up later and say, well, I disagree with what she said. You had to have put your version of events through her before you make your arguments. There was a question, I don't even remember what it was, but it was really funny because Camille's trying to object, and it's like, object foundation, object hearsay, object unintelligible. I got a chuckle out of that. There were a lot of objections by Camille, and a lot of them seemed to land, and Amber's lawyer was having a really hard time trying to frame her questions in a non-leading way, and the commentators were saying, well, that was very painful to watch, like, you learn how to do that, and it's true. And I will also say that there are some judges who will let, and lawyers who will let hearsay evidence in, like if no one objects, or it's like, well, I'll see where this is going. There were a couple times where it's like, I'll see where this is going. Amber says something, okay, yeah, no, I sustain the objection. Whether or not Amber Heard's lawyer was just not having a good day, or incompetent, or was actually doing something that was fine that was being misinterpreted, it didn't look very good. It looked like she was a bit of a bonehead, so which is probably a bit frazzling to Amber as well. Okay, then they were like, they made a big deal. They were showing a clip, the commentators were showing a clip after, when they take the break, and Camille hugs, is it Benjamin Chew? I don't know the cast of this horrible drama yet. So hug, and then she hugs Johnny Depp, and they're both smiling. And then he, as they're kind of going like parting, he kind of hugs her again, and then she's like, pat, and he's patting her on the back, and they smile, and then, when she pulls away, he's holding her hands, and then she goes, and oh my God, they were like making such a big deal about this. The closest thing to like a relevant comment, the judge who was the commentator said, well, I find that very disrespectful to women in the courtroom, like, you don't do that. And to be fair, neither the judge nor jury were in. I mean, in a lot of the cases where there are tons of lawyers around, and I mean, you try not to do funny stuff in front of the media because somebody might catch you, or if you're on camera the entire time. But I mean, there were shenanigans. People would joke and rib with each other, right? Like I had chocolate melted on my robe, and it looked like a shit stain, and the court reporters and I were kind of peeing ourselves about that. Not literally, because that would just make it even a worse day. So there are things that are a little bit not as close to decorum. But the courtroom, even though itself, yes, you should be respectful of the institution, it's really more so when the judge and jury are there. So, and in terms of being too friendly, I think if she had shaken Benjamin Chew's hand and then hugged Johnny Depp, that would be a more convincing argument to me that there was something going on. I think right now people are just reading into stuff. She seems like a very friendly person. I have hugged clients. I haven't been the initiator, but usually, you know, or if I'm hugging everyone on the team, I think they would make a big deal out of it if she had hugged Benjamin Chew and then went up to Johnny and was like, shake your hand. I mean, then they could be like, what, did they break up? So it's like they're really trying to find something in there. Yes, was there a more prolonged contact? Yes, and I don't want to say, I think this is a generational thing because we all know men of that age. You know, kind of like, you know, how Biden does the whole, like, it was, you know, they don't realize that now it is not quite as okay to go and touch someone. So patting someone on the back or holding hands, like it's an affectionate thing. It's just not a very modern thing. But yeah, I think people are making way too much of this. And then, as I said, when the other guy came up in the deposition, I just literally fell asleep. So those are my comments for today. I don't think I have any more comments for today. So we'll just end it there. And maybe I'll see you again tomorrow.